Welcome to Apricot and being a new teacher with us. We hope that this introduction to our online classroom, our virtual classrooms, will put you in good stead before we actually sit down and talk with you and go over things that you have a question about. Now, my name's Amy, and Chris is right next to me. Say hi.
Hello, my name is Chris Ridout. I'm a techie.
And the two of us are going to try. We have never done this in tandem before, but we're going to give it a shot. So here we go, a basic introduction to virtual classrooms through Blackboard Collaborate. When you enter a classroom, you will see things much as you see them on this page now. The first thing I like to do is take my hand down. And there we go. So this is, we're on Chris's computer, so that's why you see him as the moderator. Now we've just thrown a dummy student in here, Pennywise one. But when Penny came in, she will have had her hand raised as well. What happens when students raise their hand is that it makes a ding on your system. And when that happens, you know somebody's entered the classroom. The other thing that students know to do is, especially if you're teaching a group, if you're waxing lyrical about something and a student really wants to get your attention, they can click on, click off, click on, click off, and you'll hear ding, 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 and that will certainly get your attention. And you can say, okay, you've got my attention now, and hopefully they'll stop. So what we want to do is just immediately say that's where you take your hand down. The second thing that I like to do when teaching is this recording reminder. I like to move it right in the middle of the page so that I don't forget to hit start once my students come into the room. Now Penny's in the room now, so I would hit start. We do this for child safeguarding reasons, and also teacher safeguarding reasons, so that we always have a record of what went on in a lesson, and also the lessons are used for catch-up by students. But for now, I'm just going to close this. If you happen to close it inadvertently, you can always click here to begin the recording. And in fact, you'll have to click that at the end of the lesson to stop the recording. Okay? Great. So, I've already loaded up a PowerPoint into the lesson, but you would do that here through Load Content. I'm just going to click that button really quickly, and you'll see it brings up a browser of my computer. So I'm just going to, I have no idea where there's a PowerPoint, but here's a picture. Looks like that's a whiteboard slide, so I could actually pull this up by finding the file I want and then saying open. I'll just do that now. Okay, great. Let me shut that down. It automatically brought up a page explorer which shows that it's just input this slide. This happens to be the acceptable use agreement for students, but we don't need that, so I'm just going to delete that page right now. Sorry about the type, it's a little funky. Alright, yeah, I want to get rid of that page. So, this is the page that I was on, and now you can see I've got control over the PowerPoint that I've already loaded in here. So go to the next page. Now, one thing you need to know, when you're loading up a PowerPoint, in fact, I'll show you right now. I will pop over here and grab a PowerPoint on Roman medicine. Alright, and I'm just going to close this browser window down. So here's my PowerPoint that I want to load into the classroom. So let's say I click Load Content, and I go to find that PowerPoint again. Now it's going to take me a little while to get to it this way, but happily, okay, I just got it in my Dropbox, and there it is. So this is what I'm going to try to load. It's going to give me an error because it's already open on my desktop. So open. Uh-oh, it says it's in use already and must be exited. Okay, fair enough. I pop up here, I close it out, and now I'll be able to load it. Now the reason I showed you that is because I don't want you to get an error the first time you try to load a PowerPoint and freak out. So it typically will be because you've already got the PowerPoint open somewhere on your system. So just close it down, click Load Content again. Happily it remembered where I was, so I can double click this. And now it's going to generate these, it actually opens up PowerPoint itself, as you can see. And it's turning this PowerPoint into whiteboard slides. And that means it's smashing everything down into two-dimensional pictures. And I'll show you what I mean. This particular PowerPoint has flash activities in it. And I just want to go to that slide. So I'm double clicking, but it's not going yet. I'll just say go to page. Right. Push this page explorer out of the way for the moment. Now this says click start to do this activity. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many times I click start, it's a two-dimensional picture of what was an actual activity on my original PowerPoint. We're going to show you later how you can use this PowerPoint in the classroom, but it certainly won't be by loading it in as content. I hope that that makes a little bit of sense to you. Right now I'm just going to take the whole silly thing out. Let me see, where's the next slide? There we go. I'm just selecting all of that and right-clicking and saying delete. Sure you want to do that? Yes, indeed. Right, so now I'm back to my original PowerPoint that I loaded in here, and I'm just right-clicking and saying go to that page. So it's going to take me to my first page. Closing this out. Now this page explorer, let me explain. If you come over here, anytime you see a little icon with lines in it like this, that means those are your options. It's kind of the same as if you were to right-click on something in any other environment. It gives you further options. So if I click on that, the only option I get is Show Page Explorer. So I'm going to click on that, and that's what this is. So anytime you load things into the classroom, let's say you decide to change your mind and you really want this slide to move down here. Now you can just click and drag it down, and you can see it shifted position. I'm going to put it right back where it belongs. So that way, if you want to make some last-minute changes to your PowerPoints or what you have in store for the students, you can do that through this Page Explorer. Does that make sense, I hope? What do you think, Chris?
Yes, that's fine to me.
Okay. Alright, so I'm just closing that for the Momo, and let me get back to where I was.
That was odd.
Yeah, well, the reason that slide shifted was because I had taken it out of order and then put it back in, so it reverted to the next slide.
Fair enough.
This is just a PowerPoint that I use when I'm training new students, and Chris uses when he trains new students. So don't worry about the content of this. It's just to help you learn a little bit more about what can be done in the classroom. Right now, I do want you to take note of this, which is all lit up, and that's your whiteboard icon. These two icons we'll get to in a minute. This one will let you do some internet web searching and activities with students. This one allows you actually to share your computer with a student, or a student to share his computer with you, so that you can see a document that they might be working on, or you'll be able to show them that PowerPoint with the flash activities embedded in it, and they'll actually work. So, but we will get to those in just a minute. Alright, so first things first, and we'll also get to all these panes in a moment as well. First thing is, I just wanted to show you, this is how you can load in the PowerPoint, and this is how you could load in a picture. You cannot load anything else up with this load content. If you have a document that you want the students to see, you're going to have to share your computer with it already pulled up on your system. That spreadsheets, Word docs, whatever. So we'll get to that later. But just for PowerPoints or graphics, you can use this, and that puts it smack into your classroom. Now, up here, you know you've got your backwards and forwards arrows. This will always tell you which slides you're on. Now, and it tells you there are 2 of 9 slides. Now, the students will see this too. So if you like to teach with one big, massive 200-slide PowerPoint, going from week to week, the students are going to look at that and go, oh my word, 200 slides, you must be mad. So probably best to keep the slides down to a minimum so they can anticipate, oh good, okay, we're almost done, I've almost accomplished this. So they can see that as well. Then you have this area called Follow. That's the Follow Me button. As long as that button is ticked, every time you go from one slide to another, all your students will go to the slide that you're looking at. If you take this off, you'll see that now your slide has a red outline on it, and that shows that whatever you do, you can go backwards, forwards, forwards, backwards. your students are still going to be on this slide, or whatever slide they decide to go to. Now this is useful if you've got students at various levels in a class, and you might have prepared the slide number 4 and put Jamie's name on it, and slide number 5 has Sally's name on it, and slide number 6 has Tommy, and on and on and on, and you can say to them, go find your slide, do the work that's on your slide, and then we'll meet back at another slide where you can then re-tick the follow me button and go to that slide where you want them all to congregate on and share their work. I'm going to take this off again just to say, when you go to, when you've got that off and the students are on their individual slides, you can then shuttle around and see what they're doing on their slides. Okay? And you can follow them working just by popping back and forth from slide to slide. Okay? I'll also show you where you can set up a timer. If you want to say you've got 5 minutes to do this, the timer will then show in the classroom, and you've got those 5 minutes to pop around and about the slides that they're working on. And then get to the slides you want them to be on to finish their work, and then click, actually you would click follow me and then pop onto the slide. Okay, so that's enough about that for the moment. The next thing that you should be aware of as a teacher are these board tools. So this one is just the regular pointer. Now this one is quite interesting. It gives you a way to put a variety of things on the board or move on the board. So I'm going to use this pointer, right? Now, you can see that I'm pointing to quiz time. The thing is, the kids will not see that. Your students won't see that unless you click and drag. You see it got a bit bigger. Okay? So, if you click and drag it, they'll be able to see what you're pointing to. Or you could say, we're starting on the first question. Now we're going to the second question, and now I'm just clicking. Click there, click there. So that's really important, that you have to click and drag in order for these to be seen by your students. And you can use any number of them. The next tool is a whiteboard tool, and when we train students, we like to get them to choose a color. So just for you to know, if you click on that black swatch, you'll get all different colors. So right now I'll just be blue. It's nice to say who's going to be blue today, who's going to be green, who's going to be red, you know, and that way it'll also help you realize who's doing what. Without going into too much trouble, you could change and make it a thicker line. You don't have to. So now I've got the board tool in my hand, and what I try to tell students is, let's just practice using it. So regardless of the question and the answer, just start marking things. So there's a check mark, there's a check mark. They might decide, oh, I think it's true, or they might say, no, this one's false. More check marks. So just for your information, students have these tools to work with. You can see that they also have this tool, and that's a highlighter tool. Right now it's set in yellow, so I'm just going to highlight this first thing. That's a tool that you might want to use as a teacher. And of course you can make the highlighter any color. Let's make it a green highlighter this time. And there we go. Lovely. Okay. The next tool is the type tool. So I'm going to go to the next slide. This was something I did on Romulus and Remus in history, and regardless of the correct answers, I suppose while they still have their pen in their hand, I'm just clicking on that to get the options. You can right click or you can left click to get the option. I want the pen, not the highlighter. So I've just clicked to get the pen again. Right, so one thing that students can do is simply draw from the word to the space. Okay, or they could use an actual line. So again, I'll go ahead and choose my same color of blue. And now I'm just going to draw a nice straight line. So this is one way that students could work on this. The other way, of course, is, as I was getting ready to say, I'm going to just click on this little corner here. I select the big A. If you select the little a, that gives you a text box that you have to continually resize, and it's most annoying. I just like the big A. Okay, and I'll just leave it black for now. Just put your cursor wherever you think, and I'll just type in room. Alright, and here I'll type in, whoops, king. Great. Now if I don't like where these are placed, I can go to my selection tool here, which I just clicked on, and I can move things around. I could also select something that a student did and hit the delete key on my computer, and it's gone. So if somebody draws a rude picture or something, you can just select it. In fact, you can select, I'm clicking and dragging now, I'm going to select all this rudeness that was put on my screen, and I'm hitting delete. So you don't have to actually delete things individually, you can delete them in a group. Now, another twist on this, I'm going to go to the next slide. Another twist on this is not to put the answers in your PowerPoint slide, but when you come into the classroom, select your tool, and let's bump up the type a little bit, 24 point, and I'm just going to start, I'll put word 1, void 1. Alright, I hit enter, word 2, word 3, and so on and so on. I can take my selection tool and line these up wherever I want them on the page. Now what this makes, as you can see, are click and draggables. So now you could just fill all this in before the students get into the classroom, and then the exercise is not typing in or drawing lines, it's actually dragging and dropping, which is much more satisfying for students to do, I have to tell you. I love it. It's more satisfying for me as well. So these are just some little teaching hints on how you can make things interactive as you go in the classroom. That's really the goal, to make, and that's why your slides are always put into two-dimensional images. The idea is you put something up on the page that the students then have to interact with, which is fabulous for them. It keeps them engaged while you're teaching. It's really silly to go on to the next thing, but just for your information, there are filled-in squares, or, as I click on the edge, filled-in circles, or lined squares, or lined circles. So I might click that and say, okay, there's a word brother. So this is just another board tool that the students have. So it's important that you know what they have access to when building your lessons. The other thing that, this is just for a quick screen capture of a page. This actually places a piece of clip art on the page. Not many people use this, and for some reason this doesn't have much in it. I think our clip art is gone. Well, that will solve that problem. No need to use that clip art. It's always much better to put your own clip art in through load content. Now, I'm going to let you take a break for a little minute before we come back and discuss screen sharing, web tours, and the rest of these panels that you'll need to get to grips with.